Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to the program this evening. I am super excited about this evening because, as you know, this program is where we bring together experts to talk about the practical aspects of achieving our dreams. What are the things that we need to do in practical terms? I talk about principles a lot and what we do, but I told you we were going to be bringing in experts, people who are going to talk about how not only what they do, but how they have helped other people get to a point where they start to celebrate their dreams. And today I am super excited with the guest we've got. In fact, I'm not going to say much. We just need to get her on as quickly as possible so we can gain as much as we can from her. Our guest today is Clara Rufai. And she's known as the Shine Strategist. Let me confess, when I saw that, I was like, Shine Strategist. If there's any time we need to shine, it is now that we really need to shine. So when I saw that, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. She's a globally recognized speaker, and she's created this thing she's called the Shine philosophy. I'd leave her to explain the details of that and what that means. She is the president and founder of the Shine Zone, which is a social enterprise that specializes in personal development, empowering people, creating platforms and tools for individuals and companies that want to thrive. And how do you get into that point where your key skills, your key strengths are showing? Now, if there's anybody that can help us with that, it's our guest today. So before I bring her on, I'd like to say to all of you, please, um, share the link out, invite your friends. Let's give it a few seconds. Share the link out. We're live on YouTube, all our Facebook channels, all our YouTube channels. We're live on Instagram as well. Wherever you're watching this, just share this out. This is one guest that we have to listen to. We really just need to listen to Clara this evening. And so please share that. And without wasting time, I want to welcome Clara Rufai to the program this evening. Clara, you are welcome to the program this evening.
Thank you so much, Akin. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to dive right into this because
Mhm.
we want to hear your views on a lot of topics. I started to read your book. So many things were dropping in my mind, and then I saw something about your story that caught my mind. And it was one of the things that really made me want to reach out to you and get you to share this story. And, the world is in a time of adversity. People are going through challenges and turbulent times. And I saw that you came from a very traumatic experience and you've done something with your life from that traumatic experience, losing two siblings in one day. Talk us through how you came out of that time, what you did to get you out of that to where you are today. Talk to us about that.
Well, thank you. I mean, you're certainly throwing me in the deep end, but I love this question. I love this question because I really do believe that my everybody's experiences is what brings you into your purpose. And funny, I should say that now because I was actually part of an anthology, an anthological piece titled Pain to Purpose a couple of years ago. So, my experience, my pain of losing my sisters, they were my younger sisters, two amazing, beautiful girls. Um, who died, due to a boat mishap. I mean, I don't want to at this time dwell in the details surrounding their death, but suffice to say that, one day they were there and the next they were gone. And I can tell you at that time when it happened that everybody, my family, myself, we were all in shock. We didn't know how to handle it. Come to talk about how I personally took it, though, I took it really badly, as one might expect. I wasn't expecting it. You tend to think of life as, first in, first out, and things like that. So, my lovely, amazing little sisters who had hopes and dreams and aspirations, who I loved with all of my heart, they were not the ones that I was expecting for someone to ring me up one day and say, you know what, this and that had happened. But that's exactly what happened to me. And sometimes, not sometimes, every one of us will go through life and will experience the ups and downs. You get the lemons of life thrown at you, so to speak. You try to make lemonade where you can. I would say that out of that painful experience, and I can tell you it was a really traumatic experience. I went through years of spiraling depression. Nobody could reach me. I didn't want to be reached. I didn't even want to be helped. And at the same time, bear in mind that everyone close to me, members of my family, everyone was going through the same pain. So it was difficult for us to be there for each other, so to speak. It was more a question of, or it was more a case of everyone finding their own healing. And so we needed to reach inward. We couldn't look outward to each other for that healing, so to speak. So for me, I went through a period when, as a person of faith, I had a real problem trusting God. I had a real problem trusting Him because I felt that this had happened on His watch. Now, bear in mind, years before that, when I was only 13, I'd lost my father, and my father was my hero. He seemed like the kind of person who should live forever because he was doing a whole lot of good in the world. And that death that was my very first introduction to pain. But that had marked me already, and I was starting to come out of it like a flower opening up again, like a sphinx rising again. I was starting to come out of it, coming to my own as a young woman. And then for this absolute tragedy to happen again, where not one, but both sisters, were killed in a mishap, in a boat mishap. It crushed me totally and completely. But I think that the real lesson, right? And I know that what people want to hear, especially in this season, this moment of life that we're in, is how did I overcome? And bear in mind that in that place of depression, I actually, because I do believe that as you come of age, when we are born, we're given names by our parents. But I do believe that every adult, as you come of age, you should do something that I think is both prophetic and spiritual. I think that you should give yourself a name. And I think that, that name should encapsulate your inner fabric. It should touch on the core of who you are. It should touch on the things that you are aspiring to be or to do in life. It should be prophetic. It should be the kind of name that calls you up higher, that inspires you, that motivates you, but at the same time speaks of something to other people when they hear it. So the name that in that place of grief, the name that I came to give myself, and it really is a name of victory, if you ask me. The name I came to give myself is a three-word name that says born to conquer. BTC, born to conquer. And that's because I realized that if I could overcome the pain of my sister's death, if I could live again, if I could be happy again, if I could smile again, I realized that God was trying to show me something, that it's not really always about you or about what you feel. There's always a bigger lesson. There's always a reason why our experiences would happen to us. And most of the time, just as I'm a person of faith, so excuse me if I make inferences sometimes, but just as you would say that you are blessed to be a blessing, when you go through certain situations and certain experiences in life, I absolutely believe that it is because, God, the universe, the higher power wants you to reach out from your place of pain, from your experiences, and to be able to help someone else that's on that journey. And so that's what I have now become. And so these days, I will call myself the encourager, the inspirer, a change agent, because I went through that process of change where, like a flower, it seemed like the end was here. I mean, I was saying, what am I doing alive? if my sisters, so full of life, could be taken, could have their lives snuffed out, as I thought of it at that time, why am I here? But let me tell you what happened. I began to see that God had spared me for a reason, for a purpose. I saw that my sisters were no longer there because perhaps they had completed their journey. But I am still here and I'm called to do things and be things and to make a difference in my world. So I began to live vicariously for my sisters. It was almost as if I said to myself, that part of their life that they could not live, I'm going to take it upon myself and I'm going to live fully. And I'm going to live in such a way that nobody on the face of this earth will ever forget me when I leave. And so that's where I think the whole concept of the SHINE philosophy, I wouldn't know it until years later, but that's where it was born. That's the birthplace. But then you know how the journey goes up and down until it came to full circle and it was born, a couple of years ago. So I hope that just explains basically to people that it's not about sometimes your pain propels you into your purpose. That I think is the chief lesson here, Akin. Your pain does propel
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. I've come to accept the truth
Mm,
of what you've just said there. And every time there is a big challenge in any area of life, I tend to look
mhm,
at it as this is the open door to the greater thing that wants to happen in my life at that point in time. And in a
mhm.
sense, while I don't wish for bad things to happen, I know that if these things happen in an unexpected manner, it's because I need to dig deep, use the tools that are available to me to
Mhm.
understand what that next level is going to
Absolutely.
be. Um, let me ask you this question because you coach a lot of people, and we'll come to your book in a minute. But let me ask you this question: in the people you coach, how many of those people have have uh, have come out of a place of pain, have come out of a place of disappointment and turned that around? Because a lot of people are going through the disappointments like we've talked about, and some are losing hope about it. But when they hear stories of other people who have come out of that pain and are doing something about their life, maybe that would encourage someone else to step out of where they are now and move on to that better thing.
Absolutely, a whole lot of people. Incidentally, before I go to the people that I have coached, in this book right here, there were actually 9 individuals who were featured in that book. And what I did was I tried to take a journey through their eyes. So it wasn't just me telling people, hey, look, I'm setting out to escape my prison. It was me telling people, and I can show you, I can literally point you to 9 amazing individuals, people who were ordinary people, but who seemingly had done the extraordinary, people who had escaped various kinds of prisons. For some, it was relationship prisons. For some, it was prisons of abuse, just all kinds of different prisons. And each person's prison was unique to that person. So what I did was I interviewed them, I got their stories. I'll tell you the story of one of them in particular, called Coach Kemi, and she's very well known on social media. Coach Kemi had gone through a terrible marriage, right? And she got to the point where at one point she was so stressed and depressed that her hair started to fall off in chunks and she was suicidal. And guess what was? This was happening. She had teenage children, 13 and 14. She broke up with her partner. But before she got to, she almost was going, she wanted to kill him. She almost killed her partner. That would have meant, of course, be featured in my book. She'd probably be sitting in prison somewhere. But she was able to overcome it. And she taught so many lessons, some of which I've captured in this book, which is, she's a person of faith as well. She teaches that it's not up to you, it's not up to your, it's not up to your relation, your partner, it's up to you how your life turns out and actions you make and what you do. So she basically points blame her relationship or blaming her partner. She decided to reach inward and she decided to change the narrative for her life. So when I coach people these days, and for some people you might even say, that's not a pain, that's not a struggle, that's not, it pain, for instance, before I wrote this book, Prison Break, my pain was as a successful corporate lawyer, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with my life. I was earning what many people would call more than a decent salary in the city of London, working for a top-notch, investment management company. But I wasn't happy because I felt like my life wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go. I felt like there were so many aspects of me that I wanted to express. And I felt resentful because I felt like my job wasn't allowing me to express those aspects of me. I wanted to write, I wanted to inspire people, I wanted to, just give people something that they could use to improve their lives. I wanted to be an influencer, a thought leader, but I wasn't being given that chance. My 9 to 5 allowed me to be a decent lawyer, a good lawyer. Come in, follow the rules. There's a procedure book, follow the procedure books. You have to arrive at a certain time. You have to leave at a certain time. And if you wanted to take holidays, you had to do so at the pleasure of your employer. All of this is okay. But it got to a point where I started to feel emasculated. I started to feel like surely there is more to life. And I admit it, that's probably because I'm a creative. I love to explore things. I love to create things and I love to make things beautiful, whether it's people's lives or just things that I create. So it got to a stage where I knew that I wanted to do more with my life. Those are the same principles that I teach people. How that in order for you to do that, there is a process. Now I've broken it into a 5-step process, which incidentally spells the word shine, hence the SHINE strategist. So basically, what I do is I teach people how they can start, harness, identify, network, and express the brilliance on the face of the earth. Because every one of these steps actually leads you, when you put them together, they lead you from where you are to where you ought to be.
All right. So talk us through this shine process. Talk us through what happens in this shine process.
My favorite topic. The truth of the matter is, and I'll be very brief, right? Because these are things that you take the time to teach and you exemplify it and you work through using worksheets and things like that. But in essence, what I encourage people to do is to first of all do a shine assessment, because quite a lot of us beat ourselves up, thinking, oh my God, there's nothing good about me. I don't have what it takes. I haven't got enough money. I'm too black. I'm too this. I'm too that. We always see the negatives. The truth of the matter is that is such a self-limiting position in which to put yourself. Because as Coach Kenny said in this book right here, you're the only person who can change your story. And by the way, talking about stories are absolutely important. Stories are not for you. Your story is not yours. Your story is actually meant to connect you to the people that you are called to serve. Hence why when I wrote this book, the people that were being drawn to me were people like myself who were dissatisfied with where they were and wanted help, wanted clarity, wanted to find the confidence to go from where they were to where they wanted to go. So what are these 5 steps? S stands for start. As I said before, the truth of the matter is for a lot of us, we are stuck. When we're stuck, it is because we are lacking knowledge about, where we ought to go from where we are or how to go about it. Sometimes we're clueless. Yes, that happens. And we just don't even know how to get started. Well, the best laid plans are nothing if it's not, the good book says, write the vision and make it plain. But even after writing the vision, the real thing that makes a difference is actually action. And what we find in today's world is that there is so much noise, so much yada, yada, yada. A lot of noise coming in from social media. Everyone has opinions, everyone has views, and you take in all of this noise and you find that it is such a chore. It is such a problem, so difficult for you to even distill the noise in your mind. And grant you, there is always, mind you, there is always something to be said for even being in the quiet, because sometimes in the quiet, that's where you create your most beautiful works. So you've got to get started. Getting started means knowing the steps that you need to take. First of all, finding the courage, the confidence, and the clarity. Clarity is absolutely important. And that could entail that you are asking yourself certain basic questions. Who am I? Why am I here? Who am I called to serve? right? What do I have in my hands? What are my gifts, my talents, and my abilities that I can use to create something of value that I can now serve to the world, serve to the world to make a difference. So you have to start from somewhere. Having that conversation first with yourself and then asking the right questions to the right people. And by that I mean coaches and mentors. These are people I call human harnesses. You know how the horse and the bridle, it guides the horse to go where it should go. We need human harnesses in our lives. Everybody, every teacher needs a teacher, every coach needs a coach. So we need those human harnesses to get us started on that journey. The second thing is you must harness. By harnessing, I'm talking about, recognizing, pulling in, facing up to, embracing the gifts, the talents, the abilities that God has given you. And those gifts and talents and abilities, they come with a mandate on our lives. They come, which is why you see that over there that says shine. It's a mandate. I absolutely believe it's a mandate, and none of us should ignore that mandate because we're not here on earth just to clutter up the landscape. We're going somewhere. And when we are going somewhere on that journey, we ought to take as many people as possible with us. So you harness your skills, your talents, you put them together, look at them and see how each talent and each gift, rubs off on each other, complements the other. And on my website, there's actually a free gift that is the Shine Assessment. Is an audio guide, if you like, that anybody can go there and download it and listen to it. And it will walk you through the process of, assessing to find out exactly what your skill, what your shine factor is, which is your skills, your talents, and your abilities. And the next step is to identify. Now,
One
you may talk
point before
about.
you go to identify there, in terms of this assessment, one of the challenges a lot of people have raised with me is you're going through that pain period. It feels like everything you're doing isn't working, right? Maybe you used to be good in a particular field. All of a sudden, everybody just doesn't want to work with you anymore, and it feels like, what am I doing wrong? Right? What do you say to that kind of person who is trying to do that assessment that says, yeah, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, but suddenly I'm in this state where nobody wants me anymore? What do you say there?
Mindset. It has to be mindset. There's never going to, perfection doesn't exist. It's a myth. There's never going to be a place in life where everything is perfect, everything is the way it should be. And even if there is, well, I don't know, but maybe for some lucky few, I don't know. I don't even know that they are lucky. You know why? Because as people say, relationship coaches will tell you a relationship that's never been tested. Well, you don't know if it's going to stand the test of time. You don't know if when the storms of life hit, if that relationship will stand or not. But if you've gone through those ups and downs with your partner, just as an example, and you're still standing strong, then you know your relationship is worth taking to the bank. So, in the same vein, when that thought comes, I see it as fear, I see it as doubt, and fear comes to a friend of mine who is a mindset coach describes fear this way. She's got two definitions for it. One of them is fear everything and run, and the other one is face everything and rise. Of a truth, it is when we face the challenges, as in face them head on. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you face them head on, determined in your spirit that you're not going to turn tail and run. When you do that, you will find your mind begin to open up. You will find pointers begin to drop into your spirit. How, and where, and to whom you can go to get the information. When fear happens, I see it as there is a lack of clarity. If I have an interview, a test, or something important that I need to do, and I haven't quite prepared for it, there will be some anxiety, there will be some fear. Oh my God, because that's because you haven't taken the time to prepare. But facing that problem head on and having that mindset change, in my book, for instance, I write where I say that the moment you shift your mindset, you gain the momentum that increases your business, your income, your relationships, your life to the next big level. And whenever we want to ascend to the next big level, there will be fear, there will be anxiety, because you're wondering if you're ready for that level. You're wondering if you've got what it takes to access that level. But guess what? You do. The thing is, the fact that you are afraid and you don't quite believe in yourself does not change anything, because inside of us, and that is the whole fulcrum, that's the whole basis, if you like, the foundation of the Shine philosophy. The fact that I believe that there is greatness stored up on the inside of all of us, and that greatness only comes to the fore when you reach inward, when you connect with the flickering flame of greatness that's inside of you, because life happens, right? Life happens, the ups and downs happens, and then that flame begins to die. But when you connect with it, and from that place of power you seek to reach out and serve the world with what you've created, that's when power happens. So don't make it about yourself, is what I would say. Make it, understand that it's more than you. Understand that you're called to serve, and that for every moment you stay not entering into your shine zone or not operating in your shine factor, somebody is suffering, because you are somebody's teacher, you are somebody's coach, you are somebody's counselor, you are somebody's help, or helper. So I would say that mindset is the sole, is the most important thing. The thing is, our minds are so powerful. Our minds are like an app, right? That's the most powerful app that you have as a human being. If you can find a way to reboot it so that the app knows to serve you. Fear is actually there to serve you. When you feel anxious or
Wow.
fearful about something, you go out and you get the information that you need. You go to Wikipedia, the Googles of this world, talk to some human being somewhere, someone who's traveled the journey you want to travel, someone you admire, someone you look up to. Some of my best coaches and mentors I have never even met in person. They've
Wow.
mentored me and coached me through the power of books, through the power of their writing. And the problem these days is that we want to just, we want to just find our way at the destination, the answer, without really walking through. When I was in school, and I wasn't necessarily the best math student, but when I was in school, my maths teacher would always ask us to show working. So they know that you understand the process that leads you from the problem to the solution. And that's important. And if you do know that process, then not chances, that you definitely can recreate it. So you can work from the problem to the answer. You can walk back from the answer to the problem. And so that
Wow.
gives you that confidence of knowing that it's almost like being able to then declare that I am self made, I am self thought, because you have worked yourself through that process. But a lot of us don't want to make that sacrifice. A lot of us just see the shiny objects that social media offers, and we want to do posturing, and we want to show flashy logos, and we want to be like the next person. She's got several letters after her name, or she's got this, nice title. But life isn't about titles. The real thing about life is when you can strip yourself naked of all titles,
Yeah.
lawyer, mother, wife, whatever it is, strip yourself naked of those titles. What do you have? If you can still look in the mirror and have a conversation and respect the person you see staring back at you in the mirror, then you're on the right path. So I
Wow.
would say basically, it is
Wow.
just mindset that needs changing.
All
The
right.
mindset.
So you were on I before I interrupted
I was
you
on high,
there
indeed,
to
indeed.
address this. So what is the I in this shine factor you talk about?
The I is to identify. And identifying could be identifying again those skills and talents that we talked about, but it could also be identifying your who you are called to serve, so your target audience. It could also be identifying what you have in your hands with which to serve them. It could be identifying your stage. Each one of us has a stage. So if you've got something brilliant and you're standing, if for instance, I'm somewhere in Africa in a fish market where there's different varieties of fish, dried fish, fresh fish, and things being sold. And I go there with precious pearls in a pretty see through glass case. And I'm basically, trying to hawk my wares or trying to sell that pearl in that place. There's not going to be anybody that has a need or has an appreciation of that precious object that I'm carrying and looking to sell. Why? Because everything around me it's a fish market. That's the location. So that's not necessarily my platform. That's not where I should be with what I'm carrying. The good book talks about not throwing not throwing pearls before swine, for example. So what I would say is this: identify who it is that you're called to serve. Identify also your stage, your platform, where you are called to situate yourself to serve them from. There's also identifying where your ideal clients are. Where do they hang out? Online, offline, social media, which of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is, you need to know who they are, where they are, and how you can reach them. So there's several layers to the process of identifying.
So let me ask a question here. So say someone, let me use a practical example. Say someone has been in a particular sector. Maybe they've been um, a business analyst, right? And
Mhm.
all of a sudden they find themselves in a position where things just are not working, and they're thinking, what should I do now to move to the next level? They're trying to identify that shine factor. If they go to your website, will they find the information that will help them identify what that thing is?
I would say that they would definitely have a good starting point if they download and listen to and apply the Shine assessment. And it's a free gift on my website. However, over and above that, I always talk about working with somebody because sometimes there's nothing like you sounding someone out,
Hmm.
to say am I, because sometimes, I mean, the best of us sometimes has jaundice because you can't see yourself. You are in the frame of the photo or of the picture, so you can't really see yourself. So when you're working with someone, and someone who's traveled the journey that you want to travel, and the person is able to show you where you can place your feet, basically the stepping stones, it helps. It takes away a lot of pressure, it takes away a lot of self-doubt and a lot of fear, because you've been able to, because you're now working with somebody who you know, or you have the belief that they can take you from where you are to where you need to be. So they can definitely start with that. But I also, something I use when I work with my clients, it's called an opportunity checklist. The opportunity checklist simply says, when an opportunity is presented to you, and not every opportunity is to be embraced. But when an opportunity is presented to you, you have to look and ask yourself certain basic questions. Is it going to lead me? Because everyone should have their overarching, your purpose, your life purpose. So is this aligned, or is this in alignment? This opportunity, is it in alignment, or is it going to throw me off course from my journey, from my path? It's like listening to somebody else's dance, drum beats, and dancing to it. I do believe that we each have a song sheet on this journey of life. And I do believe that your journey is your journey, and you shouldn't necessarily waiting for other people to join you in your dance of life. Is like, asking for permission, asking for validation. And that's not me. And I should hope that that's not what most people will do, because if you know that this is the path that you ought to go, you would, and that path is in alignment with your tools. Your tools, now I'm talking about your skills, your talents, your abilities, and everything. So that person who is in that, at that crossroad, for instance, business analyst, just as an example, and is wanting to shift into something else, not quite sure what, not quite sure how, I would say sit down and do that assessment. It is critical. And I actually would invite everyone to, download that from the website. But sit down and do that assessment. When you have finished, you will be able to produce something I call a shine statement, because from each of the questions you would have answered, you would be looking very candidly at times when you have failed, times when you have succeeded, what it took for you to succeed, your pains, even your bad experiences, which is why I said earlier that fear, even fear, is meant to serve you. It's not meant to keep you down. Fear is meant to serve you, right? If you know how to use it and apply it. So by the time you've worked through your emotions and your feelings and answered the questions that are posed in the Shine assessment candidly, you'll be able to write out a Shine statement. And that Shine statement, I found that with most of the clients I've worked with, it's almost like a propelling force that gives them a clarity of vision, that they know this is what I want to do next, and then they start putting the blocks in place. So I would say have that assessment. Look at whether the opportunity you have before you, one, is it serving your purpose? If it saps you, makes you feel like tired, uninspired, unhappy, then there's something that you need to check. Like pretty much like how I felt unhappy, right? Back in 2015, 2016, I had an amazing job. I was a corporate lawyer, but I wasn't happy. I knew there was more. So, in finding that more, I found fulfillment. I'm currently working my way through from where I was to where I want to be. And I'm not where I want to be yet, but the journey so far has caused me to grow and bloom. And I've given birth several times over in the lives of people, as well as in the things and in the platforms that I've created. So, any which way, when you do that soul search, it's an amazing place to be.
Let me ask you this question here, Clara. Uh, just looking at the books, there's so many things you talked about in the book. In terms of finding like-minded people.
Yes.
And I'd like to get your views on the importance of having like-minded people around you when you're going through that painful period, right? Because I think sometimes we look for people that share our passions, our views, our opinions. And sometimes when we get into the difficult situations of life, we don't look for people who are outside of that situation. We look for people who are going through similar situation, and we surround ourselves with those people. How important is it to break out of that? And what are some of the strategies that people can use to break out of that community or initial ring of friends that we're all going through the same problem? How do you get out of that?
Oh my God. I really do think that, how do I put this? I really do think that in life, it is the decisions that you make and the timing of those decisions. These two things are really very critical. Not to invalidate the fact that people need to, when someone suffered a tragedy or someone's grieving, like I was way back then when I was going through my painful period, when I was going through the depression, not to belittle the fact that the person needs to go through that process, right? But at the same time, you don't necessarily need people who will come in. You should be giving your space. You should be giving your time to possibly grieve and understand and work your way through your feelings. But you don't necessarily need people who will keep you in that space, who make you feel like it is okay to be there, like until forever. So, in my case, for instance, because we were all grieving, my family members were hurt, I was hurt. I didn't really find that connection that I needed amongst my family members. And in fact, till now, there are certain aspects of, my tragedy that I discuss with some family members. And, oh my God, I didn't know you felt that way. Oh, really? Was that what really, So because each one of us was internalizing things. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate because I managed to work my way out. But the reason I managed to work my way out was because I had certain, for me, I've always been a writer, I've always been a poet at heart. I love, playing with words. So journaling and writing my thoughts down and writing my emotions and my feelings down was something that I've always practiced. So when this happened to me in my moment of pain, it was no different. I was writing a lot. I was writing to my dead sisters. I was writing about my father. I was talking about how I missed him. I was expressing myself in words to my sisters. And then at the end of every poem, what I noticed, like a string running through everything I was writing in that season. First, it will start like gloom, 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 miserable, I'm sad, and all of that. But in the very end of every single one of those pieces that I wrote, it would be me coming up to take back the power. It would be
Wow.
me saying, I will overcome. I have overcome. I am more than a conqueror. Hence that
Wow.
name, Born to Conquer, which has now become like a life philosophy. So I would say that journaling is a very, very powerful tool. it's a very powerful tool. And maybe for, I don't know the reasons why anybody could not journal or share that. Actually, it's used as a therapy, a method of therapy for people who are, in grieving, or people who have been in accidents or in traumatic situations. It's a medically accepted way of healing people of their emotions
Wow.
or of negative feelings. So I did a lot of journaling. And in that moment, in that time, I wrote a lot. Like I said, it would always start out by me recognizing my pain, because it's important to not to like, for instance, right now we're going through a pandemic. The whole world is feeling the pain. People are dying, right? We're still here. We're fortunate to still be here. So I say to people, there was a series of short videos that's on my YouTube channel that I did when the pandemic started. And I keep saying one thing. I keep saying, do you know what? This too shall pass. That was the underlying thread in all of those messages, saying, I'm not saying, ignore the ignore the storms that are gathering, or the darkness of the clouds, but I'm saying, in acknowledging that darkness of the clouds, do not let your sight, don't lose sight of the rainbow. There's also a rainbow, is what I was saying. And this goes back again to mindset. The mind is the most powerful thing. If someone gets to the point, just as an example, where they decide life is no longer worth living, and I got to that point when I lost my sisters, but if somebody gets to that point and they actually decide to cross over and to take action on that thought, and for instance, to commit suicide or take their own life or something, then that person in a way has fought with the battle with fear or with their mindset and has lost the battle. That's when that happens. I was
Wow.
able to quickly pull myself back from that edge to say, no, this is not who I am. These things have happened, but they will not define me. They will not be they wouldn't be, that wouldn't be my life story, because I
Wow.
can still rise up of it, and I can still change people's lives, and I can still show people how to grieve properly. So, for instance, when the fires happened in London, the Grenfell fires, I
Yeah.
wrote on social media and I was talking about the fact that I know that, the morning after, life goes on, people just carry on with their life. And I remember feeling resentful that after the initial, oh my God, so sorry, and all of that, life went on. The
Yeah.
world kept on turning. And I remember feeling very angry. This shouldn't be. I'm still in pain. The world must stop and acknowledge my pain. And I knew there were people who were going through that emotion during the time of the Grenfell fire. And I tried to offer some wisdom. And I tried to let them know, unfortunately, the world cannot stop because of you. But that's not because you are not important. That's not because your pain is not important. It is because it's the way life is. You've got to get up at the end of the day, and you've got to do yourself the favor that only you can do yourself, and tell yourself it's time to carry on living. It's whatever that means for you, however long it takes, but take the step to carry on, to keep
Wow.
going.
Let me ask you this question here, because I think this is quite important. When I saw the title of your book,
Hmm.
escape how to escape that 9 to 5 agenda, the first thing that hit me was,
Mhm.
are you advocating that
Mhm.
really success can only be found when you are outside of a regular paying 9 to 5 job, which a lot of people would be in, and even if someone were to create their own business and run their own business, ultimately you're going to need people to be in that 9 to 5 window to help you run the business. What's your take on that?
My take on it is, the book Prison Break, the 9 to 5 escape agenda, is not necessarily for everybody, as even the best titles, the most, the biggest bestsellers in the world, don't speak to every single person on the face of the earth. Some of them are so good that they speak to the majority of people, but it's not necessarily for everybody. And I'll tell you, just a few of the, if you like, the subset or the categories of people that I was writing for when I wrote that title. I said on one of the very first few pages, on page 5, I said, this book is for you if you are ready to consider exchanging your preoccupation with your 9 to 5 career for a life of purpose and passion. And that's important because a lot of people don't feel passionate about their day job. It is a fact of life. They do it because it puts bread on the table. They do it because it pays them a salary, a wage, but they're not passionate about it. And what I find sad is that we will all go through that process because society has conditioned us to say you go to, nursery school, primary school, then, secondary school, university, you get a degree. Well, what's the next natural thing? Society, the world tells us. We've been schooled to believe that the next thing is for you to be employed by somebody, go into and find employment. And if you're you only find employment if you're one of the lucky ones, really. So find employment and then work that job for the rest of your life until it's time to depart. And I don't think that that's the right way to go about it. I would certainly hope to give my children, to bequeath a legacy for my children that means that they are able to do so much more with their lives than just sit behind a desk. So I said, that's the kind of person I'm writing for. If you are also ready to turn your passion and your talent into an income generating idea that can add value to others, then it is you that I want to speak to. If you're ready to own your entrepreneurial calling and do what resonates with you and lights your soul on fire, I want you to read this book. And also, if you're ready to ditch the titles and the identities that others have given you, i.e., the world, and if you're ready to be your true, authentic self, I want you to read this book. If you feel confined by your current situation, mark that word confinement. That's the prison, that's the limitation. And what I offer in this book is the liberation. How that whilst you may currently be in a prison, if you read this book, you catch the fire, the intention, the inspiration behind this book, because the book is in two parts, really. One of it is, or part of it is just telling my story, one woman's story, sleep deprived, frustrated, just a regular lawyer, if you like, corporate lawyer, doing the rat race, yeah, on the treadmill of life and feeling like there has to be more to life than this. There has to be more to life than this. And I guarantee you there is more. So there's all that about, if you're tired of working hard, yet having less time to do what truly matters to you, if you're stressed out from being pulled in different directions, everyone wanting a piece of you, if you feel like you want to quit the rat race, so you have to be, in all those, you have to go work your way through this. And if you're saying, yes, 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 that sounds like me, oh my God, I want to, oh yes, that's me, she's describing, then the books, this book, the story in this book, which is my life story, and how I overcame it and I'm overcoming it. And this is what I tell people. When I started penning this book, I thought about the prison as being the four corners of my corporate, of my office. And so I saw that building. Every time I was walking into the building, my shoulders were drooping and I felt like I don't want to do this anymore. I wish I would win the lottery. But how many people does that happen to? So really, the truth of the matter is when I came to that part where I realized that actually the prison is not the four corners of my office. The prison is right here. The prison is in my mind. Who says that I cannot start to build my future whilst I'm still doing my day job?
So
The
the
moment
first
I had that
prison,
mindset switch, it was amazing
so
because
the
I then
first
saw my
prison
day
break
job. Mhm.
is when you make that mindset shift, even though you're still in your regular 9 to 5 job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you
Wow.
do that, and I'll read you something, I hope I've marked out the right page. It's quite powerful, where it says that, you're not going to necessarily leave your paid job and, start doing your own thing. And then it just happens. You're not just going to hit the ground running. I keep saying that, becoming your best self is not a destination. It's a process. It's a journey. There will be ups, there will be downs, but through it all, you must be focused on what it is that you want. And that's why this book has, all kinds of tips and tools and strategies. And when I talk about the fact that we each owe ourselves we owe ourselves a responsibility to work towards the life of our dreams. Every one of us dreams. We know what dreams are. Dreams are powerful because they can start you on that journey of thinking, oh my God, things can be different. There is an alternative. But a lot of us think that, and then we do retrogress back and we think, yeah, but not for me. I'll just have to keep on doing what I'm doing. But I say, the moment I made that mindset change and I decided, I found out line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, literally my life began to change. From writing the book, there was a lot more passion. And I felt that, everything that my day job was taking from me during the day, I would arrive home at night in the evening. And when it was time to, do my dream job, as I call it, I would come alive again. I would
Let
be
me ask you
inspiring
this.
people and changing lives.
Let me ask you this, Clara. There is
Mhm,
something you refer to here. You call it dealing with your resentment, struggle
mhm,
one. And you
mhm.
refer to speaking to one of your coaches and how they made you become grateful for even the 9 to 5 job you were in. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. It's gratitude. An attitude of gratitude will get you everywhere because the things that you think are not serving you are somebody else's dream. Again, it's about being real. This is reality. The things that people look at me till today, oh, I wish I had her job. Oh, I wish I had her life and all of that. And I started out thinking that that job was a problem, right? Until the moment when my coach sat with me and said, let's make a gratitude list. And I have to be honest with you, I struggled with it initially. I was like, what's there to be grateful for? But by the time she was done with me, working with me to see that I needed to change my mindset, and it was true, I needed to change my mindset. By the time I was done with that process, I started to write a really powerful gratitude list. And guess what? At the very top of that list, next to the fact, of course, that I was still alive and I still had life, at the very top of that list was the fact that I had my day job. This same job that I started out thinking was a problem, was a hindrance, was a limitation. I began to then see it as the very thing that is enabling me to even do the things that I've done between 2016 till now. The things, the systems I've built, the platforms I've built, everything that I've done between that time till now has been enabled by this job.
Well, let me
And now,
ask you this. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that now, because the mindset shift has happened, I can absolutely see myself. I call, that place of pain and dissatisfaction the prison. And I call that utopia, if you like, that amazingness that we all dream about, I call it the palace. So
Wow,
now I can definitely say that I am closer to my palace than I am to my prison.
to your
And
prison.
there's a
Wow.
change in everything that I do. People can see and people are inspired. And that's for me, that's so humbling.
All right, let me ask you this. You've touched on it a little bit, but I just must ask this question.
Mhm.
Surely there must have been some situations that you thought were going to go in one direction and ended up not going in that direction. How do you deal with disappointment?
Well, disappointment comes to teach you lessons, is what I say. You learn
Okay.
the lesson that that disappointment, that pain, that trauma has come to teach you. Because if you didn't learn the lesson, then it would be a wasted experience of life. Remember that everything conspires, everything works together. All of your experiences work together to make you who you are. So, in essence, when disappointments happen, you sit down and you take them as a tool. They are nothing but a tool. You then begin to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? How could I have done things differently? And going forward, what have I learned from this experience that can help me do things differently? Because whether we like it or not, it is not the fact of disappointments. They're always going to happen. It is the fact that we don't learn the lessons we are supposed to learn from pain, from trauma, from disappointment, or from, situations of life that are less than perfect. So I would say sit down, perhaps do a soul search. Be honest with yourself. Why has this happened? Did I drop the ball? Did I not do my homework? Did I would never come to the conclusion that I'm rubbish. It's because I would come to the conclusion that a little bit more clarity is needed. a little bit more homework is needed. I need to do some research. I need to do some fact finding. I need to talk to Aki. I need to talk to somebody who is really good with this. Oh my God, look at the way he does that. I need to template him. I need to copy him. I need to talk to him. I need inspiration from him. I need him to pick me up because I'm low. There's always somebody. That's why we can't do without those people that I call human harnesses. That's
Wow.
why the network is so important
Wow.
because if you're not properly located,
Yes, let me ask you this. We've got about 2, 3 minutes to go, but I want to ask you this because I noticed something you did in the book. You
mhm,
had stories of people who
yes,
were talking about their experiences. First of all, are those real people or fictional?
they're real people,
They're real
real
people.
amazing people.
Why did you go down that route of using those kind of stories?
Because I wanted to show that, how does the good book put it? There is no, problems are universal. Trials, trauma, they're universal. So my trauma may have been the death of my sisters, but somebody was dealing with an abusive relationship where she wanted to take her own life and take the life, her partner's life.
Wow.
Someone else was dealing with, quite a few of them had relationship issues. Some people had situations where they were just disillusioned with life. One person was dealing with abject poverty, lack. And this woman is so multi talented, multi passionate, and you begin to think that it would just be she could spin money, just print money because she had so much talent that she could have used to help people. But yet she was, out of a home. She was homeless at the time that we were writing this book. She was living off of a room, a space or a room, just separated by a curtain somewhere in America in her father-in-law's with her husband in her father-in-law's house, which was not
Wow.
ideal. So she drew from that pain, and she actually has written a book called The Poverty Chronicles and things like that. So all of these people are real people, normal people, people that I either people that I met on my journey, basically. Some of them I came face to face. I got to know about their story as I was writing the book, and I reached out to them. And I said, "Your story inspires me. It is in alignment with the book that I'm writing, and I want people to see that the best of us, the rest of us, black, white, all of us, have issues, and we have challenges, and we have limitations. But I want people to also see that there is a process, or there are processes and tools and tips and strategies that can be followed to bring you out of limitation into liberty, into liberation, basically. And that's what I was trying to teach with the book. That was the big picture of the book. So with everything I was doing, I was trying to find stories that resonated with that. People who were unashamed about sharing their stories, people who would hold nothing back, but would tell me, when they were at their lowest low, no matter how ugly it was, but at the same time will tell me how they crawled out of it and what they
Wow.
used, what were their tools. So each person shared lessons. So after each person's story, I would say, I'll talk about the person's escape journey. I'll talk about the escape route. And then I will talk about their lessons that they learned while on the run. Because the prison being where you don't want to be, you want to escape the prison. But what are the lessons you learn as you make that journey from your prison to your palace? So it's
Wow.
that's the way the book is written. And of course, there's my own story and my own lessons on the run as well, some of which I'm still learning.
Wow, this has been fantastic, fantastic. Now, just before we round up, book is available on Amazon, all these other outlets.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, fantastic. Um, Clara, thank you so much for your time
Thank
this
you for
evening.
having me.
This has
Thank you for
been so amazing, and I was sharing this with someone the other day. I'm going to go back and listen to this over and over, even before I put it on the website and I release it, listen to it over and over again, and pick my own nuggets of insights from it, and start to use this. But thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate this. Do you want to let the viewers know your website details and things like that, where they can go for the Shine assessment?
Sure. My website is my name, clararufai.com. And when you go on there, you'll be able to access also my Shine Capsule podcast that I'm very, very proud of. This is just an audio pill that you ingest and it helps you to shine from the inside out. Because you see, the shine is not the bling, the shine is in the core of your being. So, yeah, you'll be able to
Wow.
access my Shine Capsule podcast there. You'll read a little bit more about what I do and how I help people, and if you want to reach out to me and connect with me on social media, let's have a live conversation. I'm available as well.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And we will surely follow your material that you've got out there. And to our viewers, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure you must have enjoyed that as much as I did as well. See you next week when we'll have another exciting time talking about productivity and how we reimagine productivity. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.